Hey, it's Johnny D from Johnny Lives. I'm here with Kal Penn,
How's it going?
and we're talking about the environment
We
and,
are, man.
and flying monkeys.
Flying monkeys as well, and what's in your pants?
I got a potty in my pants.
Uh-oh.
Ooh. So, we both grew up in New Jersey.
Yes.
How random is that?
Very. Because there are only 30,000 people that live in the state of New Jersey.
And
Very few people know this.
2 of them are right
Right.
here.
And the
That's
reason
weird.
we're such environmentalists is because there's a ban on cars in the state of New Jersey. Everybody walks everywhere.
It's true.
And they have that jungle gym system.
For arm strength.
Yeah, and the pulleys with the pygmies.
I don't know about those.
The pygmy pulley system.
No, I don't
You don't know about that?
those.
Maybe it's just Central Jersey. You're from North
Where,
Jersey.
where exactly in New Jersey? I don't remember.
Freehold.
Freehold.
Yeah.
So I know for me growing up, like people associate New Jersey as kind of like, a wasteland, or they think it smells bad. And
Yeah.
driving down the turnpike, you got the Meadowlands and a lot of industry sort of in Bayonne and Newark and
Yeah.
stuff. Were you more in the suburban part, like? When you were a kid, was the industry like sort of a part of your growing up?
No, I was more suburban, but the thing is, when you grow up in Jersey, you go into New York City a lot, and you pass through a lot of those industrial areas before you get to the city. And it was always really interesting to see the contrast between industry and the places they put industry that they know is so polluting and so detrimental to the environment, and then separating that. It's almost a buffer from between New York City and the suburbs.
Right.
And I always thought that was really interesting, and it wasn't until I was older that I was able to learn about environmentalism and pollution and why certain industries are in poorer areas of the state and how that affects people unfairly, obviously.
Of course.
But no, I didn't live right there, but we would pass through it a lot.
And I mean, I only recently found out that the Meadowlands, was and really
Wet-
still is a
wetland,
wetlands, and it's a very fragile ecosystem
Yes.
that's been totally encroached by
Yeah.
all of this. And I don't know how long it's going to be until it changes
Yeah.
back. But I'm curious, like when you were growing up, when was the first sort of time in your life when you realized, you were sitting in the car and you realized that actually what you did or what your parents did or your friends did as a person, like actually contributed negatively or positively to the world around you?
I think probably driving to New York City on the New Jersey Turnpike, and you pass a couple of energy factories, and they're by a bunch of oil refineries and things like that.
It says like oil heats better or something.
Yeah, right. And you pass, and it smells so bad, right? And so you always roll up the windows if it's the summer. The smell still gets in, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, man, that smells so awful. And then I read the signs, I'm like, well, wait, we use oil for this car. I don't even think about whether or not I leave the lights on, and that's an energy producing factory that is smelling up, this huge stretch of highway.
Right.
And then I thought about how, if everybody turned the lights off, or if everybody decided to drive a little less, it could really positively impact the environment. So I think that was the first time that popped into my head. I was like 12 years old or something.
Was your mom or dad like the type of parent who was like, would yell at you to turn off the lights in your
Yes.
room? Like, I know in my house, it's still a big deal.
It's still
big thing.
huge because, I mean, partially it's the cost, but the other part of it is that we take this for granted so much, and
Right.
most of the world doesn't have those types of resources.
Yeah, and it's like we, flip on a switch, and all of a sudden all this, we don't even know how much energy it takes to power the light bulb.
Right.
We're leaving them on all day around our house, and cumulatively
Right.
it adds up.
It does, and I think there's a difference between, there's a difference between being ignorant about it and not knowing, and then there's a difference between that and knowing and still refusing to turn off the light or refusing to drive less because of this feeling that, well, we can, so why not?
Yeah.
And we shouldn't.
Is there like a particular environmental issue right now that sort of sticks in your mind that you want to tell kids about that kind of concerns you?
Yeah, I mean the biggest concern, obviously, the last 3 or 4 years, or even probably 6 years, the issue of oil, particularly publicized by the whole war, and and the issues of global warming that also tie into oil consumption. But specifically, oil consumption, environmentalism, and even war it's so horrible, but you can see just by turning on the news the very direct correlation between what we do when we go and fill up our cars with gas and what happens to people in other countries when we need their oil, and certain governments decide that the way to get that oil is by killing children. Like, it seems like it seems like
leap.
How do you make that leap? How does a human being make that leap, and how are they okay with that? And I know a lot of us, it doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or independent or whatever, that's not even the issue. It's not a political issue, in my opinion. It's an issue of human beings treating each other in a particular way.
Right. And
we, as people, there's a whole blue state, red state thing. Everyone loves to say, well, it's that other political party that's doing it. And, if you're a Democrat, we have a war because of George Bush and the Republicans. Or if you're a Republican, those environmentalists are causing too much of it, whatever. It really, we are the ones to blame for all of that, because we're the ones who are filling up our cars, and we're the ones leaving the lights on.
And it's interesting to me, like a little factoid that just popped into my head that I haven't actually even thought about in a couple of weeks, is this summer when the gas prices jumped up again to like record highs since the 70s. I was just planning to go on this tour, and I was freaking out because it took our budget up thousands of dollars. And I heard that actually in America the usage increased during that time very slightly. It didn't go down at all. And basically the message that we sent at that time to the oil companies is, look, you can charge us whatever you want for gasoline. We think we're so dependent on it. Charge us whatever you want. We'll get another job to pay for it.
Right.
And that is actually not the case. As I'm doing this project, I'm learning that there's renewable energy sources and clean, green energy sources that we can use. And I think it's just through our conversations that we'll sort of spread that message.
I agree.
To the next generation and to our own and to our parents and to Uncle Heimowitz in Bayonne.
You have an
Uncle Heimowitz, you don't need to use all that gasoline. So another thing that I'm trying to find some cool metaphors. Debbie Harry had this great metaphor that I just wanted to tell you about, just for you to take away, because it really just hit me in the head when she said it. And it was like, she just pictures the world fossil fuel. It comes from plant life. It takes 150 million years to create fossil fuels, and we basically used up most of it in 150 years. And she was like, I kind of picture it like spinal fluid for the Earth. It's like we're riding on this cushion of fossil fuel underneath the plates, and it's depleting our fluid.
Right.
So I just wanted to give you that as a little...
I like that, and I'm going to go a little further with that, not with the analogy, but with what you brought up, because it seems like the debate, for some reason there is even a debate over environmentalism, and people saying that there's no need to conserve energy, and I'm sure you've heard the arguments that, well, there are still fossil fuels that we have access to, and it's not going to run out as soon as we think we are, and a lot of people, especially in big business, who profit from oil, like to convince us that it's not going to run out, and they have scientists who say that it's not going to run out. And even if you believe all of that, there's no reason to consume the way that we consume, because actively it still makes the air bad, it still promotes war, it still promotes divisiveness, it's still incredibly wasteful and gluttonous, and it, instead of bringing people together, that type of behavior actually separates folks. So I personally agree with the analogy about the spinal fluid. I'm of the belief from the scientific stuff that I've read that it is running out. But even if you don't believe that, there are so many other active reasons. Even if you don't care about your kids, don't you want to breathe cleaner air now?
Right. It's like, you don't need to go to the Sizzler all you can eat, so you can eat all of it.
Right.
You don't need to get 8 steaks.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because it's free, it's included in, that's kind of our